When did you decide to run for mayor? When did it really say, you know what, I'm going to jump in?
March 15th. Nobody was talking about defunding the police or hiring more police. They were either defunding the police or vacillating. And I just said, this is all about law and order. This is all about crime, this election. And I have, obviously, the credibility and the experience in public safety that nobody else has. And increasingly, the polls afterwards indicated people weren't as interested in police reform as they were last summer, when they were attacking the police, and Eric Adams and no one else was defending the police other than me and the Guardian Angels. And then all of a sudden the pendulum swung, only because Democrats being polled said law and order, quality of life is the main issue. And then all of a sudden they are reborn again, law and order.
But it's not a contradiction when there's police reform and at the same time being pro, right? A lot of people confuse that. They think if you're for reform, you're against. It's not a contradiction.
Look, I was a victim of police abuse in my first 13 years as a Guardian Angel. Eric Adams talks about the one time he got arrested and abused. I got arrested 76 times. I've been on Rikers, then the Bronx House of Detention before they closed it, Queens House of Detention before they closed it, Brooklyn House of Detention, Tombs. So I know what it's like to get a wooden shampoo, a concrete facial, and an attitudinal readjustment, and then my paperwork lost where I'm coming out of a dormitory on Rikers saying, hey, CO, when am I going to get arraigned before the judge? We're not up to S yet, Sliwa, don't worry about it. And then I had to go back there with 40 guys who were not my friends, I might add. So I know all about that, but I don't hold it against the cops because they thought I was the leader of the Hells Angels at the time in a gang. And then as more Guardian Angels became police officers, that all changed. We haven't had a problem since Rudy Giuliani was elected mayor and he told the police department, which is a paramilitary organization, work with the Guardian Angels. Haven't had a problem since. See, the problem is you have the community police councils, which are made up of law-abiding people. So the cops have conversations with them. There's no problem. But if you're going to go into the heart of the crime-infested areas, you got to be able to talk to the gangbangers who are slinging drugs and slinging guns. I'm able to go where the only Republican they've ever seen is Abraham Lincoln on a $5 bill. And it doesn't mean they all agree with me, but I'm telling them, hey, I become mayor, you're getting locked up, you commit these crimes. There's like no question about it. We're not talking crisis intervention, you know, after school programs, summer job programs, because none of you are going to go for that. I know that and you know that. You got to get locked up in order for you to get an attitudinal readjustment that's not going to be tolerated. A perfect example, you have a lot of young people in the Orthodox Hasidic community. They end up studying like most of their day. It's like 6 days a week, sometimes 7. You're not seeing them getting involved in street activities. You got to keep young people engaged, because young people can get frisky. I know that. I certainly went through that phase myself with my Italian Supreme Cuisine cousins, Joey G, the Cheech from Howard Beach, Lenny Beans, Bianchino, guys who ended up doing triple life without parole. I know what it's like there. Keep them engaged. But once they're already crawled into the belly of the beast, it's not easy to reclaim them. And sometimes the stark reality of realizing, wow, I'm in prison. I have nowhere to go. My rights have been completely limited. People tell me when to go to sleep, when to get up, when I can go to the bathroom, when I can eat. Has a cathartic effect on some, not all. But if you don't remove them from the community, their cancer spreads because they start recruiting other young men, other young women, and it just perpetuates the madness, because recruitment involves you keeping it real, as they say, which means here's a gun, see that blood over there? Shoot him in the head. You don't shoot him in the head, we don't want you. You're not down by law. And that obviously is the false courage that somebody gets, and the first time they shoot somebody, then all of a sudden they get reputation. The streets part for them like the Red Sea did for Moses, and all of a sudden they could be 80 pounds soaking wet, and they'll intimidate somebody who's 6'8", 285 pounds, all muscle, because they're afraid of them because they're a gangbanger.
Think of the complaints about Rikers. Oh, it's not, they don't have air conditioning, don't have this. I mean, is it supposed to be a hotel, or it's supposed to be a punishment to deter crime?
There's about, in addition to Rikers, there's the 2 barges. You have maybe 5,000 plus inmates being detained there on bailable offenses, and some who are doing less than a year for crimes they've either copped a plea to or they were found guilty of. That pales in comparison to the height of the crime problems in the 70s and 80s when 20,000 inmates were being detained there. They needed 2 barges at Koch. East River, West Side Highway. They had the Bronx House, Queens House, Brooklyn House of Detention, Tombs, and Rikers. There's plenty of empty cells and dormitories and Rikers. What you could do is take one unit like C-74, close it down, rehab it. And then the next C-76, and then just move the inmates around. And also there's enough room that you could actually have in a separate division housing for homeless. They're on the island there. They can take care of their own needs. Dry them out from their alcohol or their drug problems. Give them a Job Corps situation, teach them a trade. And likewise, if you need extra space, the state of the city to give mental health care for the emotionally disturbed. All of that is empty now. So that 3/4 of Rikers Island is not being used.
So nobody could accuse you like, oh, you don't care about, trying to prevent and being against, programs and all that stuff. You feel it could be both?
Programs are after the fact. Right now we have an epidemic. You have to go in there with laser-like efficiency and remove the cancer. And the cancer is the gun toters and the gangbangers, because they're not on the periphery. They're actually involved in the day-to-day mayhem that causes drive-by shootings, then revenge shootings, vendettas take place. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys, except in the streets and the public housing developments of New York City. Pleasure. Getting ready to set up? Where are you getting ready to set up?
India's supposed to be performing.
Sure.
How you doing?
Are you winning in the polls or what?
Well, it's a battle. It's a battle in November.
Right.
Every day is a new day. Different day. Well, yeah, let me get the next mayor.
Oh.
What's your name? Honor to me. Oh, pleasure.
Hello.
I actually took a picture with you in downtown Manhattan last week. Can I take a picture with you?
Of course. And we'll share this photo. Blast it out. Nice looking up there.
I see you're getting that all day. People from all over, not just Brooklyn. This guy said he's from Queens. Just happens to be in the area, sees you. You're the most recognizable guy. And they're stopping their cars.
And people always have a Curtis Sliwa or Guardian Angel story. Something that they remember, they were touched by. The 2 young ladies who are here, who now live in Syracuse. Remember the Guardian Angels in downtown Brooklyn, Westinghouse, seeing me there. So it's always great because there's that connection, that permanent connection.
And when people say, oh, you don't have a chance, I mean, that's not what it's showing on the streets. All over the 5 boroughs, wherever you go.
No, it's what's called street cred. And millions of dollars, Bloomberg's millions of dollars couldn't buy street cred. And that's something that Eric Adams and his team is aware of. So that's why they figure, hey, try to take him out now before all of a sudden he's everywhere.
You think that's why President Biden was so quick to invite him and not you? They made him sound like he's the mayor already. Well, he's not.
Remember,
he has to go against you.
President Biden inviting a borough president, a ribbon cutter, compared to mayors and police commissioners from other cities. So that was clearly to benefit Eric Adams becoming the mayor. And then Cuomo right after. Again, just saying he is the mayor. And then Eric Adams at the Kings County dinner with de Blasio standing right by him saying, I am the mayor. So he wants a coronation. What he doesn't realize is, don't go to sleep on Curtis Sliwa, because I'm at it 24/7, 365. Today, I'm here in Flatbush helping the Jewish community. And where's Eric? He's on the Great White Way, Broadway, enjoying a theater presentation. He's got to do a job as Brooklyn Borough President. Maybe he forgot. You're still Brooklyn Borough President, pal, and your borough is crime-infested from end to end.
So are you surprised they threw the anti-Semitic card at you?
Yes.
Now they get Biden to meet instead of both?
Right.
I mean, why are they so afraid of you?
Well, because they know I have the street credit. The only Republican who could ever go into the inner city, where the only Republicans they've ever seen is Abraham Lincoln on $5 bills, and they know I have support of people there. So they'll call me next a homophobe. They'll say I'm a misogynist, a sexist. Then even though I lead a group that's predominantly minority, they'll call me a racist. They'll throw everything at me. But if 42 years of serving the communities of New York City doesn't count, then I should go get a job hanging wallpaper. But I think my long-term, consistent credibility will save the day.
And what's your position on liaisons if you become mayor? What kind of liaisons would you have?
Liaisons are there for placards. They're there to get hyped, but they're not really liaisons to the community. You need people who've got boots on the ground to act as the conduits to get information, and more importantly, the police commissioner. First and foremost, he or she has got to be the conduit in the community. They have to go to every community, go to community meetings, and then appoint liaisons who are actually in the streets, not in the suites. The problem is all the liaisons, their days in the streets are over. They're in the suites, whining, dining, pocket lining. You need people with boots on the ground in the streets.